I want to welcome all of us for today's Bible study and picking it up from where we left last Thursday. Of course, I don't need to remind us that we are in an electioneering season. We have voted, thankfully, in a peaceful way, and as you all know, in this our country. Um, we vote, then we wait. That's always the case. So we voted, and of course, now we're waiting for the adjudication from the Supreme Court so that we can once and for all ascertain who is going to be the next resident of the house that is perched on a hill, on the hill. So basically, what we did last Thursday is we're looking at loss holistically because I think clearly we all appreciate that this country, irrespective which way this election goes, half of the voting population will be on a losing side, and the other half will be on a winning side. And so, what we're saying is that loss at whatever level is loss. Okay, and I'll explain myself. For example, if somebody loses a marriage, it's a loss. It's a loss of hopes and dreams and the future which somebody had, like, projected and, imagined and invested emotionally, even financially, and in many other ways invested. Of course, the loss of a health or even the loss of a loved one. And we're saying that we need to look at loss across board. So in this our last election, there were so many tens of thousands, or a couple of thousands of people to be more precise, who are vying for elective posts, and the available slots were far, 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 far much less. And so we're saying that lots of people would be in a state of disappointment, and they will have to grapple with loss. And so what we did is that we tried to say something on how we can manage loss, because obviously we will have to contend with that. If not on you, you will have to contend with the people around you, because some people process loss better than others, but a good number, take it very personally, and people who are like that, and it affects them. And by the time they really kind of get their footing again, it is 6 months down the road, and who knows at what other what other part of their person suffers as a result. Sometimes their health, their mind, their family, their work, etc. And so we just thought that that's last Thursday. We just talk about loss and disappointment, and because it is good, it's a very fresh and a very real thing for us now. Okay, I went to see my mom yesterday, and I was talking to my younger brother, and I could see the dampness in him. In fact, he was extremely unhappy, and he's always a very upbeat, very jovial, always a boisterous kind of a person with a very sunshiny approach to life. But these elections and how things seem to have gone, seem to have taken a toll on him. And I could really tell. And I remember he was saying a couple of things there, and I had to kind of catch him and remind him that, that is taking matters too personally, in a very personal way. I think it's always good, and I'm just saying this in passing. It's always good to acknowledge that if you are in any contests, whatever kind of a contest, and life is full of contests, things which we're aiming at or want to go for, that we could, there is there's a possibility that you can lose. And I think some of us who, Paul, one of them here, we came, those of us who invest a lot in, sports, for example, maybe it prepares us a little, somewhat. I don't know. I think it kind of does. Um, you you almost take it in your stride. I don't know if that's a better way to put it, because you put in so much, and then sometimes you're deflated after that because things don't go the way you're expecting. And I know this is a week in, week out. It's week in, week out, and you kind of get to begin to appreciate that things don't always go your way, and life is still good. And those of us who are with me, I wasn't in church on Sunday. The Sunday before, I was talking about FAST, fast, and just again within the context of what we're all going through. And I was saying that on the S beat, the acronym FAST, on the S beat, I was talking about God's supply. And if you remember what we're quoting from the book of Joel, if I recall very well, you know, and we were saying that God supplies our need. And as much as sometimes it may look like if we are stretching this truth so far, it is still it is still legitimate to say that our jobs, sorry, are not our supply. Okay, strictly speaking, our jobs are not our supply. God is our supply. The Lord God will supply your need. So, in spite and despite of election results, it is good to realize that God is our supply. That doesn't change. Okay, of course, we all want governments that are sensitive to the needs of the populace, that have got good policies that people can be able to latch on and be able to do business and gain employment, etc., etc. But even then, we still have to see the bigger picture. Okay, and this is not being spooky and overly spiritual. No, it's a truth. And I think the earlier we acknowledge it, the better. I mean, any president, for that matter, and the best of the president can come to power. But the truth is, they don't have control of the elements. For example, there is a war going on in Ukraine and in Russia, between Ukraine and Russia, and it has got certain economic ramifications. And countries as far as Kenya, we are so far away. We never thought that something happening so far away would be affecting, our pockets, significantly affect our pockets. But now we know, certain things, because we live in this very global kind of, as they call it, is a global village. I mean, who would have thought that something that started so far away in some little province in China called Wuhan, we never even knew about it, that it will snowball into a global pandemic, and all of us will be affected in the most fundamental way you can ever think about. People died, and some of them are people who we are very close to and stuff like that. And businesses were lost, and times. I mean, and you all know. I mean, the ramifications are hefty. What I'm saying is that that happened in spite of the kind of leadership one has. That you can't control. There are factors. Let's put it this way: there are factors beyond one's control, and that's why it's always good to see God over and above, some of these, other levels of leadership. And I want to repeat again, because we're recording this. Nobody, I believe all of us would want, leaders who are bright, brilliant, intelligent, hard workers, good planners, good structures, good policies, and everything else that goes with it, because obviously the people benefit from that. But that notwithstanding, I'm saying that there are many factors that are beyond them. And that's a part where God becomes, very important for us who are faith people. Because we realize if it doesn't rain, for example, if it doesn't rain, okay, I mean, there's absolutely nothing that good policies would do. You may have the best agricultural policy. If it doesn't rain and the weather is hostile, then the fact of the matter is that things are not going to look up for very many people. A few people may be able, for example, to uh, put up some boreholes or whatever it is, whatever it is. But the bulk of the people who rely on rain-fed agriculture, they will still struggle to make ends meet. If it rains too much, for example, if it rains too much, I mean, it comes again with its own, packet of trouble. Okay, if there are floods, the other day in some parts of the world, there were serious heat waves. I don't know what policies would, help. You know, I'm simply saying at the end of the day, God is overall. That's what I'm trying to say. And I know it may sound like if we are stretching, this truth a little too far, but I still believe that God should and must always remain ourselves. Because again, truth be told, people lose jobs. So does that mean we die the next day? People lose jobs. People lose businesses. And there are people who probably had a much more better quality life after what they thought was their quote unquote providential source, a job or a business ended, and then they just realized that God came in other ways that they had never imagined or thought. But I don't want to belabor the point. I think the sentiment is clear that we as faith people must never lose sight of the big picture. And the big picture is that God is the most important factor when it comes to supply in our lives. In our lives, I don't know how many times you've met somebody with resources and everything else, and they have some pain in their body which cannot either be they can diagnose causes and stuff like that, and I mean, you just realize that there is more to this thing than just we've got good Medicare or we've got money or I've got good insurance. And this happens a lot to so many people. Where you look at a situation and it is dire, and humanly speaking, everything has hit a brick wall, and only God can come through. And I was saying, if I can just remind us, those of us who are with me that particular Sunday, I was saying that you never believe in miracles until you really desperately need one. And sometimes we say this thing, so it can just remain there. Somebody needs to hear it. It's okay to philosophize and theorize and argue and go back and forth on the veracity of miracles in the present day modern generation. People can argue those things. But until somebody one day, God forbid, tells you that you have something in your body that clearly there is no way you can wiggle your way out medically, you never believe in miracles until you really desperately need one. Okay? There's an old saying, which I must have picked it somewhere, but I've used it apparently for a very long time until I forgot who is the author of that particular statement. And this person said that there are no atheists when the plane is coming down with engine failure. Everybody prays. But before then we can argue back and forth and talk a lot of English and quote whoever we want to quote and all that. But when and I see a couple of us here with children, when your child is, and we love our children make us weak. Let me be honest with you. I've raised 2 children, and I can tell you, I mean, there's you can survive so much, on your when it is on you. I don't think I put it correctly, but if you are suffering from something and it is in your body or in your life, around you, about you, you can withstand it. But when that thing is on your child, it makes you extremely vulnerable and you feel absolutely helpless. Okay, and we all as parents here know what I'm saying. It's a truth. It's a truth. That you can give your child so many things. But then you come to the point whereby the child is looking at you and clearly you cannot do anything. It's beyond you. It's beyond you. And I'm telling you, those are moments that, they define you in very, 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 in a very, a particular way. I think I better get a better, maybe I need a better word. They define you in a very significant way, a very fundamental way, because you begin to realize that here I am, somebody is looking up to me, and I'm unable to do anything. You watch your child maybe in a hospital bed, or maybe in a whatever situation, you know, and God becomes very close to us, because those things are what they are. They are what they are. They make us weak, and children make us very weak. Especially when we are unable to do anything. We, in respect to being of help in their lives. Okay, so and those are the things which you are saying, and I want just to repeat that bit that God is our supply. God is our supply. Let's just accept that. And God uses jobs, God uses people, God uses business and what have you. But ultimately, God is the supply. The avenues by which He will do that may vary, but ultimately, God is our supply. I think that is important. We were talking today somewhere, and I mentioned something about healing. That if I had my way, and I don't have my way on this one in particular, but if I had my way, I would have every man of God preach sermons on healing. Um, and not necessarily physical healing, emotional healing, psychological healing, spiritual healing, for the next maybe 3 or 4 Sundays, because that is a relevant and will be a relevant message, and especially after the Supreme Court goes whichever way it's going to go, and we have settled on this issue, and it has gone one way or another. Because truth be told, this is one country where we consume politics in a very inordinate and sometimes in a very unhealthy way. Today in the morning, I think it must be today in the morning, they were saying that this particular election, that the one we had, is one, if not the, okay? So I want to correct my facts here. It's either one of the most expensive election ever in the world, or something like the most expensive, either one of the or the most expensive election in the world. And they gave figures. I think they came to about 2,500 per person to vote, something like that. Okay, and I was just thinking about it. I mean, we invest emotionally so much in this thing that to try and cure mistrust, the cost of mistrust. This paper must have so many watermarks for security. There must be so many personnel deployed for, and so many other things. We have succeeded in making our elections the most expensive, if not one of the most expensive in the entire world, and that's from a third world country. That just tells you the investment people have when it comes to elections, and presidential elections, more particularly, because all the others, they go uneventful. But this big one, it's always very hard fought. It's always hard fought. And so, for that reason alone, you can be certain that a huge, oh, thank you. It's $38. Come again, Agufa. There's something you're putting up there. Come
yes,
again.
$38 per voter.
Per voter. That's approximately how much in Kenya
About
shillings?
4,000 shillings.
4,000 shillings. Thank you for correcting me. Thank you. And is it the most or one of the most?
It is the most expensive country.
The most expensive, because I think I was overhearing this on the cast stereo. So that's what I'm trying to say. That there's a huge cost of mistrust. That this is a huge cost of mistrust, and that speaks to the issue of our investedness in politics, which I'm saying is inordinately unhealthy. Okay, it is what the Englishmen call a be all and end all. It's a zero-sum game. It's a be all and end all. It's this or nothing. And it's not a good place to be in. And I can tell you, Christian or not Christian, a lot of people will definitely need some form of group therapy, and I think church can provide that, and through our sermons and our interactions and everything else, because many people. I'll tell you something that I heard from somebody. So of course there is one, cadre, one political grouping which have claimed, spiritual, mileage, and have said, this is God and God is doing this, etc., etc. And this lady who now, where I was, is a Christian, and she voted the other way around, or she has a strong affinity, an identity with the other side. And these are the people who are speaking. There were like three of them. They were like, we told you, this is God doing this thing. And this lady asked a question in the most calm but very painful tone I have had in a long while. She said, so we of, and mentioned the particular, coalition, which God do we pray to? And it wasn't, how can I say, it wasn't like a question. It was more like somebody is doing a silolo, as they call it, a soliloquy, somebody who is talking to themselves. Okay, kwani sisi tunaomba Mungu mgani? Which is this God that doesn't seem to come through for us? Because we also, and I stepped in very quickly and introduced myself, because I wasn't part of the the conversation earlier, and said, look, I'm a pastor, and I have had occasion in my own church to tell the people that we need to be very careful on where and how we invoke God when it comes to democratic, elections. Okay, I'm not saying that you cannot, but I'm saying we have to be very careful. Where do we bring Him in? Okay, when it comes to people getting mandates, because we know from democracies the mandate is from the people. And I was saying we have to be very careful, because if God can come in, He comes in on very specific places, or rather in very specific places. Okay, and so it kind of helped the situation a little, hopefully, because I think um, we managed to quieten the nerves. Okay, we have to be very careful. Again, I want to repeat, where we bring in God within the whole concept called democracy. Where we bring Him in, it's important. And when we bring Him in, okay? One of the better place to bring Him in within a democracy is when people, for example, have given a leader a mandate. And when that person is embracing that mandate, he now invites God and says, these are your people. This is the mandate they have given me. Guide me, lead me, empower me, use me to serve them according to your will, and all that. That's a beautiful, and you find a lot of that in the Old Testament. A person will be given a mandate, and then on the inauguration day, they would welcome God, they would invite God, and they would beseech God that their leadership, would find acceptance. So, and that's only one way. There are other ways of involving God, but we have to be careful that we do not in any way seem to say that there are people who pray to a lesser God. Okay, but that's beside the point. Again, I want to say this again. Let me say this: that if I had my way, then we would talk a lot about healing. And I wish we would do it dispassionately, and we would acknowledge our disappointments, because that's part of the healing process. Um, and we would not personalize, some of these losses, either it's political or it is a job or a business, whatever it is, that we can afford to say something like, the job failed, but that doesn't make me a failure. You can disassociate, that word again, that has been used in a couple of days now quite a lot. We can be able to disassociate ourselves from a business failing and me failing, because those are two different things. A business failing doesn't mean that I'm a failure. It just means that that didn't work out. It doesn't mean that everything else will never work out. Okay, so if we can be able to get some better ways to go about it. So anyway, I'm going to go, kind of a similar direction for today. So a lot of stuff has been said on things to do with self-love, which is also kind of relatable or related to um, healing, self-healing. Um, I picked a piece of paper, and in this piece of paper, I found something that I shared a very long time ago. Now, I'm not the author of this, and I'm never embarrassed to say that because I read a lot of stuff. So basically, when I come across something, which is exciting, and I think it's a good thing, I acknowledge that there are other people who, put it together. And this must have been very, very many, many years ago. It doesn't have a date on it, and I thought it would be a good place for us to start talking about healing. Okay, whoever wrote it, God will bless his heart. But it's a piece of paper which I found it among the stash of my papers. I try to keep them very well so that if and when I need to make references, I can know where to get. And it had a very simple subheading that just said, staying young. Staying young. Okay. And the first point in this article, and it's an article in bulletin form, okay, says like this: the art of staying young, and the young here can mean fresh, vibrant, energetic, alive, relevant, afloat, just all those words, can begin to see where I'm going with this. Staying young is all that. You're vivacious, you're energetic, and you're upbeat, and all that and all that. So the art of staying young depends upon staying. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Agufa, go ahead again.
Sorry, Patrick. Sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to correct myself. I gave some wrong figures there.
Okay.
The cost per voter this year was about 2,000 Kenya shillings. That exuberant cost was for 2013 and 2017.
Oh, I get
Sorry.
you. So I think my original figure then was correct. 2,500,
Yeah.
2,500 per person, right?
Yes.
Yeah, if you
Yes.
calculate with the
Yes.
present day
Yes.
exchange rate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about
It's
that.
no, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Point taken. So the art of staying young depends upon staying youthful on the inside. Mm, okay. Staying youthful on the inside, in mind, heart, and spirit. In mind, heart, and spirit. In defiance of wrinkles, because we are not young, most of us are not exactly that young. In defiance of wrinkles and gray hairs on the outside. The fountain of youth is inside you. And I think, and I've watched, movies or documentaries, where the whole issue of staying young, and being youthful and eternal youth. There's a lot of stuff being written these days on how you can be able to keep that, inner vitality, alive. But the key word here, is that in spite of the wrinkles, in spite of the gray hair, in spite of the passage of time and age, it is possible to remain current, to be youthful, to be vivacious, to be to be um, um, to be young. Let's put it that way. Just to be young, and we need it. Let me put it this way: the way life is, structured. Okay, there's a tendency that the passage of time can um, take a toll on anybody. Every single day, we are contending with huge issues, tough issues, um, and they weigh down on people. And you can find yourself, slowing down inwardly and losing drive and energy and vitality. And you know people, I know people, I can tell you clearly, who probably can be numbered amongst the living dead. They are alive because, they're not dead. That's the only reason. But there is no sense of self actualization, no looking forward to nothing. For all intent and purpose, they've given up. You know, Practically speaking, they've just given up. It's not that they have got breath in their nostrils and they're still standing, but they've despaired, they've cast their hands in the air, and they have got this very negative energy, around them. Um, and of course, if you're not careful, they can, kind of suck you in and drag you along. What I'm trying to say here is that we need to find a way to rejuvenate, to revitalize, to bring back youthfulness and a sense of excitement, because we need it. We need it. We need it. There's a scripture that talks about when hope is deferred. That's a King James version. When hope is postponed, that's what it means to defer. When hope is postponed, for example, like now we are having these elections, like I was talking, saying earlier, when hope is dashed, when hope is deferred, the Bible says it makes the heart sick. Okay? It makes the heart sick. And so these are the same things we're talking about. And I want to see it in a holistic way, over and above elections and the need for healing, because a lot of us will need healing. And if it's not us, I can guarantee somebody in your family will be needing a lot of healing. Somebody, a colleague at work will be needing healing, because elections, the investments on election emotionally in this part of the world is quite hefty. We always give it a rather heavy premium. So staying young, the art of staying young, depends upon staying youthful on the inside in mind, heart, and spirit. In defiance of wrinkles, gray hairs on the outside, the fountain of youth is inside you. The number 2 point is that staying young is an inside matter. Your body grows old, but your body is not you. Your body is not you. My body is not me. We don't count a man's years. This is Emerson speaking. We don't count a man's years until he has nothing else to count. I'll say that again. We don't count a man's years, miaka, until he has nothing else to count. And that's a truth right there. Okay. Stay young, number 3, by continuing to grow. And this is important. Continuing to grow. We've talked, I think, in our Bible studies that we all need to have this constant, how did you put it? We said we all need to have a personal growth program. Okay. And I believe in it. Trust me. I am one person who, to be very honest, I think I always have something that I am looking at and trying to investigate, and it keeps me thinking constantly. Okay. And maybe scribbling stuff and stuff like that. Stay young by continuing to grow. Okay. You do not grow old. You do not grow old. You may become old by not growing. Okay. You do not grow old. You become old by not growing. So it's kind of like some play on words, but you get the gist. You do not grow old. Okay. You become old by not growing. Okay. So, for example, you have this interest, say, with the arts. Okay. And you're following these people and you're following that other person and you're looking at this person's work and this other person's work and you're reading this book or reading this play and all that and all that and all that, and you're looking at, for people who have got a similar, the more you keep on developing and growing and you're pursuing another, it keeps you alive and young. Okay. Keeps you alive and young. I can't remember who said this, but I know it's a true, biologically it is true. Because it's been said a couple of times in my hearing, that the brain of a human being is a muscle and it is so elastic. And this person said that, that if you expand the brain of a human being with a new idea, it never goes back to its original place. If you expand the brain of a human being with a new idea, it never goes back to where it was before. And I've had that said before a couple of times for me to agree that it must be right. Okay, and so it means that we can choose to be constantly on a growth mode, either it's by reading or just joining some. We used to go. I think I'm not so sure if Paul was part of it, but we used to many years ago. We used to be in a team, and we used to go. Maybe even a go farm. I'm not so sure, but I remember we used to go for this. They're called what? This communication group. I forget the name, and they have opened so many chapters all over the place. I forget Toastmasters. Yeah, Toastmasters.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so, yeah, yeah, those days. And I must have been the one who introduced a lot of people to Toastmasters, because it's just this interesting group of people who their interest is just communication. That's all. Good diction, good, public, what do you call it? Good stage management, for example, if you're communicating, and all those things, and so many other things, and you grow, you grow, you grow, you grow, you grow. I love art, as most of you know, and I probably watch just about every other play which is in town, and it's a beautiful thing. And I like when somebody is able to say something using satire and some hidden coded way, and I have to go back think, what are you trying to say? I like it. I like the suspense in those places. In other words, let's not. How can I put this? Let's keep ourselves alive and youthful and full of vitality and energetic, um, by doing new things and becoming very engaged and involved. Okay? So stay young by continuing to grow. You do not grow old, you become old by not growing. Okay. Number should be four. I'm not so sure. Should be one, two, three, four. Four. Stay young by hanging on to your dreams. A philosopher writes, there is not much to do but bury a man when the last of his dream is dead. There is not much to do but bury a man when the last of his dream is dead. And I agree with that. And there's so many other ways we can say it. I mean, and there's so many other quotes that agree with this particular one, which I've just given, to you. People become depressed, and not just become depressed. People are acknowledged. Oh no, no, that's not a good way to say it. People are confirmed, let's put it that way, to be depressed when they have nothing to look forward to. Nothing, nothing to actualize. Okay, okay. Nothing to actualize this, nothing to look forward to, nothing to make you want to wake up with a kick in the morning. You want to wake up with a kick in the morning and let's do this thing. I've got a house to build, or I've got a car to buy, or I've got a child to take through college. Or I've got exercise to whatever, engaging so that I can lose some weight. I've got some, whatever. Something to do and something exciting. Okay. Okay, because it is possible for us, if you're not careful, to vegetate. Okay, just vegetate just into nothingness. I don't know how better way to put it. Just vegetate and just shrivel and die. And even if it's not die of Barrett, but it's dead because there's nothing inside. It's a shell. It's gone. Okay? Hanging on to your dream. A philosopher's writes, and I'm repeating this again, there is not much to do but bury a man when the last of his dream is dead. Number 6, I believe it is, stay young by maintaining cheerful attitude. Now, this for me, and I'm very big on this issue of joy and merriment and celebration and rewarding yourself and having this approach to life, which is happy and joyful. Um, I guess because probably naturally that's my natural inclination, and and I see the dividend. I see the dividend it pays. Um, Maintaining a cheerful attitude. Okay, the scripture says, "A merry heart does good like medicine, but a broken spirit dries up the bones." We can say so many things. We have preached long, winding sermons on the importance of joy and celebration and all that. But let me just put it this way: this is a choice you have to make. We have to make a choice to be cheerful, in spite and despite of circumstances and situations, occurring. We have to. I know sometimes we feel so, and I've felt like that, so permitted and so excused in case we're unhappy. I mean, don't you know what I'm going through? Don't you know what I've lost? Don't you know what I was told? Don't you know what was done to me? We feel very excused and very permitted, and it is well in. It's like it's supposed to be like that. People should now understand. No, 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 no. We may understand, but you will be killing yourself. We may understand that you've been hard done. We may understand you've been hard done by life and by people. We may understand that people who are supposed to be there for you, we may understand all those things. But the longer we maintain this sulky, petulant sullenness, this feeling of pity or me, this feeling of me against the world, like if the sky has fallen on, it's killing you, it's destroying it. So we just better get up quickly, clean up, and move. Okay, I know we want the world to see, how much life has been unfair to us, but the question is, at what cost? At what cost? Okay, when we hang our heads, and probably justifiably so, at what cost? Emotionally, what are we doing? What are we breeding? And what are we going to get out of it? I think the most important thing is to catch ourselves at the earliest moment and tell ourselves, no, no, I'll make every moment count. And I won't make it count by constantly being, in this melancholic attitude, always complaining, always seeing fault, and all that, because it's not useful and it's killing me. A merry heart does good like medicine, and but a broken spirit dries up the bones. It simply means it is affecting you, it's affecting me, it's affecting people around me, it's affecting my productivity, it's affecting my innovative abilities, and the list goes on. And so, really, however much people may say, Paul, that was so bad, can't imagine people can do these kind of things to you and to another person. The truth is, um, we are not helping ourselves either. Okay. Okay. So we stay young by maintaining a cheerful attitude, and keeping in mind that scripture which I just quoted for you. Number 7, if I'm not wrong, should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Should be 6. We stay young by keeping our minds alive and alert. I like that. I like that. Okay. Scientists have found that the ability to think does not decline with advancing age. Can you imagine? We found that when we age, then we slow down mentally, and we have to like answer, a question after 5 seconds of zoning off, because our processes are moving, slowly. We are processing slowly, but that's not exactly the thing. Scientists have found that the ability to think does not decline with the advancing age. The only difference may be a slight decrease in the speed of thinking, but you will still have, and you're still capable of thinking clear thoughts. And that's why I found many people have done amazing things at age 80, at age 90, written books, done plays, done movies, whatever, Okay. 7, stay young by forcing your mind out of old ruts. RUTS. Those old ruts, like stuff which you do, and they have become so dogmatic, and they don't seem to have, they're very cyclic, and there seems to be no way out, okay, remember that beaten paths are for beaten men. Say that again. Beaten paths. You know, they say, walk the beaten path. Pitia pale watu walikuwa kipitia. You know, like, this is how people do business. This is how people do life or do marriage or do parenting. Beaten paths are for beaten men. See new places, read new books, try new hobbies, increase the depth of your life. And that's important. That's important. That's important. And I'll just read that again. See new places. And we have people who are climbing mountains at some very advanced age, people who are doing just amazing things when they should be ordinarily they should be retiring and reclining somewhere in a little retirement home somewhere. Okay. And become cranky and make everybody's life miserable, those who are around them. Okay. Um, where was I? Okay, I see. See new places, read new books, try new hobbies, increase the depth of your life. It's very important. I mean, all of us, some of us have had parents who, I don't know, maybe for lack of you know exposure, retirement was supposed to be do nothing, and we saw how most of those parents, um, how life just was very harsh to them. And well, and I say this, I say this with a heavy heart, because there are people who felt, because I've been, now I live on my pension, and they just went and sat there, and they became literally very sulkish, and they became very difficult to be around, and they're always angry, and because they were used to being productive, and now they're sitting in a place, and that's what I find, especially with these sides of the world rather. Our mothers in most instances tend to have a social life that is vibrant, even when they are a little more older. Um, our fathers or older men tend not to have worked on that area of social capital very well. And so they end up staying at home and trying to control things from there. And it becomes very difficult. Most of them, by the time they're coming back home after retirement, from work, they are practical strangers to their own children, their own wives, because they are probably not even there to begin that socialization or that relationship, proper with those people who, matter to them. So it becomes very difficult to kind of try to do catch up with them, your children, your spouse, and all that, and then this guy is doing nothing. So he's saying this thing needs to be done like this, and everybody's saying, I mean, go where you came from, because we're okay without you, and they want to be, to take authority at that latter stage. So stay young again, by keeping your mind alive. Whatever number it is now. Um, Oh, sorry, on this one, stay young by forcing your mind of older. So the next point is stay young by remaining flexible, adaptable, and open-minded. Um, Especially for us who qualify to be called religious. Open-minded doesn't always sit very well. But we have to find a space where we can accommodate new ideas and new beliefs, what about new interpretations of how things should be. I'm not saying be susceptible and vulnerable and open to the extent whereby any Tom, Dick, and Harry who tells you something, you follow. But I'm simply saying acknowledge that there is always individual differences. Acknowledge that there are people who may see the same thing differently from you, but not necessarily that they are wrong, just different. You get, they have an area view, you have a side view, it's the same house. It's the same house, it's the same building. That you don't become so what's the word? So rigid. Faith sometimes can make a person very rigid. I'll give you a good example. Even how we do marriage, we can take a very rigid, a kind of like I have an airtight doctrine approach. I have an airtight doctrine approach. It's like you can't add into it. I don't think that's the way to live. I think we should always be open to new ideas and give them the benefit of doubt and say, let me, be objective minded and listening. You're going to pick something. Okay. Adaptable. Do not allow your mental arteries to harden. Mental arteries to harden. Okay. We all know people, I hope none of us is that way, who have a fixed mentality. Fixed mentality. It's this and it is that. And it's not the way to live. Okay. I read a lot of stuff which I don't agree with, but at least I entertain the thought. And I say, okay, I disagree with it on 1, 2, 3. Okay. But you just can't dismiss stuff on face value. I mean, that's not bright, that's not clever, that's not the way to live. So we have to be, always open to reason and debate sometimes. And even God Himself says, come, let's reason together. Okay. So it will not be a very new thing. Stay young by keeping constructively busy. We don't even need to emphasize that point. People begin to atrophy. Atrophy is to die. People begin to atrophy when they're not busy. When they're not busy. Get up, do something. Get up, do something. Constructively busy. Okay? I always enjoy seeing people who have, octogenarian, in their 80s. I like always seeing people that, very mature stage, driving themselves, doing a little business, even if they have enough money, without necessarily having to go to work. And then, but they still push themselves. My own mother, and I'm happy to say this, is one of those people. I mean, she is extremely active, probably more than many people who are, half her age. And she's always thinking of new ways to do, many things. And and I like that. I like that because one, she's not a burden. Secondly, she occupies her time constructively. She can stay there and be very grumpy, and wonder how come nobody has called me. My children don't love me. She has no time for that. We are the ones who go looking for her because she's in her own right so busy, which is a good thing, which is a very good thing. Okay. Stay young by keeping constructively busy. Set yourself new goals for achievement. I think that's it's straightforward. Stay young by tackling new projects. Okay. I can't remember. It was a couples meeting. Okay. And I was talking about that relationships thrive. Okay. By creating projects and building on progress. So it's just a nice way of saying things. And I was saying every time a couple have a project, their fellowship becomes more deeper, and their coming together is guaranteed because we've got this thing that we need to do. There is this house, or there is this land we're buying, or there is this car we're buying, whatever it is. Maybe it's a child they're taking through some whatever. Projects in a relationship especially brings closeness. Okay. Progress, on the other hand, creates a sense of success and a celebration, a celebratory mood. Okay. When you see progress, it's exciting. Okay. And you need projects for there to be progress. Okay. The man who planted a tree at 90 was a man of vision. If a man plants a tree at 90, he's a man of vision. For the very reason the tree will, he will leave, the face of the earth before the tree, has matured, most likely. Start ideas and plans rolling that will go on after you're gone. That's a nice way to put it. Start ideas and plans rolling that will go on after you're gone. Okay, so you don't have to say, no, for what? Why am I doing this? I remember sharing a story one time, and it's a historical fact. that in the Middle Ages, a lot of the cathedrals that were built because of war, pestilence, disease, and all sorts of other hazards. Most of those cathedrals took between 150 years to 500 years before they came, to fruition. And so the man who ordinarily put the first stone, the foundation stone, had it in his mind. He knew clearly he will never worship in that church. And I was asking the question, what does it take in the heart of a person to start something which I will labor here for the rest of my life and I will not be a beneficiary of the same? That is what I really would like us to embrace. That thing of, I'm still going out. If it's a goofer there, he's still going out of his way late in his, in his twilight. He's going out and doing stuff, knowing clearly that he doesn't need to, but he knows there are issues of legacy that he must take care of. Okay? Yet he can sit, drink, and eat and end his days happy. Okay? But he still goes out of his way. I mean, just think about it. People like Bill Gates, who we all know are fairly wealthy, still go to work, don't they? They still go to work. And some of them work very hard. We know millionaires in our own, country who have loads and loads and loads of business, businesses going on. These guys work themselves, almost to the bone, and they have enough. They can just sit and enjoy for the rest of their lives, and never want for nothing. Okay, because they have moved away from meeting personal needs to legacy issues. That's what I'm going. Okay, let's begin to finish. So stay young by doing good. Okay, stay young by doing good. Work for worthy causes, for city, for church, for state, for nation, for neighborhood. Beyond my immediate need, beyond my personal gratification. Just do good. The Bible says God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that you, having all sufficiency in all things, may abound in every good work. Just how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost and with power, Acts 10:38, who went about doing good. Doing good, it's not about yourself, it's about another person. Okay, very, very important. Okay. Second last, stay young by keeping your heart young. Okay, there's a poet called Carl Sandburg who said, actually wrote, it is not a bad practice for a man of many years to die with a boy's heart. Okay, it's not a bad practice for a man of many years to die with a boy's heart. Stay young by keeping your heart young. Finally, stay young by knowing that, and I like this, and this is why I picked this to share with you, even if I'm not the author of this. Stay young by knowing that they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount with wings as an eagle. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Stay young by never losing the God factor as the energy of strength, the energy, the vitality that keeps you, in your place. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. That if we look and wait upon God, He will renew our strength. Sometimes it is beyond us to come up again and be revitalized again and re-energized again. Sometimes it's beyond us. Maybe we just don't find that, we don't find that reserve strength. It's all gone, but we can always run to God and renew our strength. And I can't agree more. I mean, we do find strength in God like that of an eagle, and He will renew our strength so that we can mount with wings like an eagle, and we can run and not be weary, and then we can walk and not faint. So, good people, what more to say? The next couple of days, I felt, and I still feel that if we have our way on my side, of course, I'm going to take it up. We need to talk on healing and rebuilding and growing again and finding our place again, because as we know, elections are about to be concluded in a couple of days. And yeah, a lot of people will definitely, a lot of us, let me be more, clear. A lot of us will need to be healed, and this is part of being healed. Just staying here, okay? I mean, just realizing that there is more to my life than the politics of the day. Life has many things. There's football to watch, there are books to read, there are sermons to preach, there is work to go to, there are kids to take to school. I mean, there's a wife to love, and there's a husband to love and take care of. I mean, there are many sides of life. I mean, there are gyms to go to, there is all sorts of things that we need to do. There are new hobbies we can take that can bring back our 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 true happy self. So I will end there and just leave it for us to, kind of take it back again slowly into our minds and pick what you think, works best for you and run with it. Thank you. God bless you. Paul, back to you.